Hi, and welcome to this episode of Drawing Sacred Geometry. I'm your host, Nadi Hana, and today we are talking about the phi ratio, one of the most fundamental patterns in all of our reality, if not the most fundamental pattern. I mean, that's a big claim, but this shape could really hold the title. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. I've got a PowerPoint, and then the next module will be drawing it. The phi ratio is really a mathematician's dream, but I'm not going to go into much of the math. I know I'm going to give you a little preview with the invitation to pursue more of the mathematic complexity. I'm going to stick to the simple beauty part today. So as always with these videos, my hope is that you begin to bring your awareness to how the geometry is everywhere. Because when you start to do that, when you start to notice the patterns in all of nature, in architecture, and how the harmonic patterns are used in so many applications, you can begin to entertain the idea of unity consciousness, of everything being connected, right? Because it's connected through the geometry. You start to see the patterns everywhere, and you start to call into question the illusion of separation, right? You can start to see the harmonics that underlie our reality. Studying the phi ratio, studying all of geometry, but particularly the phi ratio, really has the potential to shift your consciousness if you let it. It's part of why I love the geometry. So we'll get right into a PowerPoint to give you a little bit more details underneath all of this esoteric existential contemplation. Here we go. So this is the phi ratio, the infinitely spiraling pattern of how nature divides itself and multiplies itself. That is found everywhere when you stop to look. It's in nature, it's in animals and plants and humans, and it's also invisible in that it promotes a sense of harmony because the shape only requires the previous two spatial measurements in order to create the next iteration. Let me show you what I mean by that. The phi ratio, this beautiful spiraling pattern, it only requires itself to grow or reduce in size, meaning you don't need a third integer. You don't have to add or subtract anything. This is the only shape that is true for. And so because it's repeating itself, it's building on itself, and it has this inherent harmony, this inherent balanced proportion that is in direct relationship with itself. So another feature of the phi that creates this balanced feeling is the fact that it has both a feminine component, or we would say right side of the brain aspect, this curving, flowing, spiraling expression of nature is partnered with a complementary masculine or left brain structured mathematic equation, which is called the Fibonacci sequence. So the phi ratio being this beautiful spiral, and the Fibonacci sequence being the squares and structure supporting the phi. This shape is also sometimes referred to as the golden mean or the golden ratio. And the Fibonacci sequence here is expressed by the two previous integers adding together to form the third, right? So what that looks like is 1 and 2 makes 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13, and onward, just building on itself. So the third number and proportion is directly related to the previous two. So it's this internal harmony and balance that we resonate with, and I'll show you why in just a second. So this number sequence is unique in many ways that calls into question a divine symmetry, an overarching vision of a harmonic relationship woven throughout the fabric of our reality. To me, it suggests a divine order, some kind of grand scale orchestration that is quite genius beyond human capacity. So yes, I believe that this number sequence and this geometry is intelligently designed. Here to me is evidence. This number sequence, we read from right to left. So you got it. It's easy. It's 1 and 1 is 2. 1 and 2 is 3. This is just expressed in a linear fashion, what we've been looking at. So we're reading as we normally do from left to right, looking at the phi ratio and how it adds to itself. Now, here's the trick. You can look at the third column and do the same thing. So 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13. All the way down, this is just legit. It just keeps going, right? So that's cool, right? That's curious, and it inspires some inquiry, right? You're kind of like, ooh, that's special. However, it gets better. You can add the same equation down the first column. 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 3 is 5, 5 and 8 and onward. But third time's a charm. You can do it down the middle aisle as well. So what about that? Like, come on, that is extraordinary and compelling and phenomenal. In my mind, this right here is what tips the scales and implies extraordinary architecture by what would have to be a meta vision of reality. Call it God, call it source, call it whatever. This is mathematic proof of source consciousness. And I never thought I would say something like that. There it is. I have just proclaimed my appreciation for math to confirm our reality. It's expressed in the sunflower. We can see it in flowers and galaxies. The pattern is on cosmological scales as well as minute scales in nature, as well as our DNA, right? We are fundamentally made of this ratio. Our most primary intelligent structure is based on this ratio, right? So part of why we resonate so deeply is that it elicits something within us. It touches our innate balance, our internal harmony. So whether it's the natural world or art or architecture, typically we will have iconic imagery or design that is enduring, that involves the phi ratio. And it's truly one of the most powerful harmonizing structures. It utilizes the phi ratio for the harmonics that naturally promote and enhance life. I highly recommend you look into pyramid technology, but it's so fabulous. Just can't go on enough, obviously. But start to bring in the larger picture to your understanding of this matrix. So bringing your attention to this harmonic proportion can also really enhance a sense of beauty in your life. It can promote a fundamental unifying interpretation of reality. If you spend enough time meditating on this shape, it can begin to shift this current paradigm of fear and scarcity and control. We can begin to understand how attention to detail and bringing consciousness to everyday life can shift our health. It can shift our well-being. It can shift our relationships. I am not underestimating the power of geometry to change your life. It might sound a little bit overzealous, but I am living proof, which is why I'm such a proponent of it. The phi ratio is also the fundamental aspect of fractal patterning, right? And I highly suggest looking into fractals. It involves the Mandelbrot set and incredible math that is fairly overwhelming. And we're not going to touch on it here, but I wanted to name it. Modern physics makes the claim that we are living in a fractalized holographic reality. So this is fundamental stuff expressing itself in our material physical world. So on subconscious levels, when you're looking at a fractal, you're really actually activating your consciousness and shifting your interpretation of reality. It's super subtle, but the more time you spend with it, the more activated you get. So my hope is that that expansion brings you to more conscious awareness of your reality, which brings you to more ability to influence your reality and create joyful, high vibrational experiences that lift your frequency, and that you can then share that frequency and help uplift humanity out of this reality that we find ourselves in. So I hope I'm conveying the power that geometry has to shift your vibrational reality and contribute to a healthier, more balanced reality. So we're going to draw the phi ratio, but as we do, keep in mind that you're activating this underlying harmonic within yourself. So many blessings.